Michelle Beyer, your host of Addiction Voices of Hope, heard here on WNPQ 95.9 The Light. WNPQ.95.9 The Light. As I'm stuttering because I'm just a tad bit nervous with my guest in here today. He's making me nervous. I have Judge Frank Forchione from the Stark County Common Pleas Court in with me today. How are you?
It's great to be here, and it's great to be here with you. I'm sorry that I'm making you nervous.
I am. I'm nervous. I don't know why.
I seem to have that effect on women. I don't know why that is.
I'm repeating things and, leaving things out, but yeah, I'm actually sweating.
Well, let's just relax and have fun today.
It must be that guilty conscience I always have or something.
No, I look forward to today.
Me too, actually. This is great. We're going to find out what actually goes on in the Common Pleas Court. Revolving drugs, alcohol, how many cases, and what the deal is there. Are you busy, a busy man with drugs, alcohol, and a lot of cases revolving?
It seems that about 90% of the criminal cases are a result of drug use or alcohol use, and it increases. The problem that we have today is, do we just lock them up and throw away the key? Or do we try to treat them with these addictions and try to help them out and get them back on track? And that's something that the Stark County Common Pleas Court is trying to do.
How are they trying to do that? I believe in that, totally.
Sure. We have a drug court it's a program that would take me a while to explain to you, but if they are, first offenders and pass the criteria that we have, usually people that are possession, we don't do it with drug traffickers. Okay. If they complete the drug court, it's a year-long program with treatment, then the case can be dismissed at the end of the year. So they don't have that felony on that record. We treat the addiction during that process, and we get them on track. Also, we have a treatment facility called the Stark County Regional Community Correction Center that not a lot of people know about, where I like to send a lot of young people there. And I go out every other month and speak to all of them one-on-one myself.
Nice. What is that? Tell us a little bit about that treatment.
Well, it's a 4-month to 6-month lockdown facility that they do a number of different things. They treat the addiction. Generally with the addiction, there's other issues, as you may expect. Lack of education, self-esteem, anger. Those issues are treated out there. They also help them get their GED, help get employment. It's a great program. Some of the people take it seriously, some not so seriously. But we're giving it a chance, and again, we're trying to help those who are addicted.
Nice. Now, is that program constantly full? Is there a waiting list to get in?
It's a great question. It is getting full, and sometimes there's a little bit of a backlog. Obviously, we're trying to get more funds, and that would help us. There is a wait, but I will say this: if someone in my court comes in and it's a heroin issue, I take them right there and then to the county jail until I can get them in. What happens from talking to them out at the SRCCC, I call it, is if they know they got to come in 2 weeks to the treatment, they'll binge. They'll get that last binge, and that's when a lot of times they end up getting killed.
Yes.
I find out I'm not very popular in my courtroom, but when I go out and talk to them, they're very thankful. Okay. And they're good people.
Yes. Oh, it's funny. A lot of people just think we're low-life nothings that do drugs and alcohol, and that's not really true. The drug does make us a little meaner or not so good, and we steal whatever. But before that, we were decent human beings. Do you find where you get to see them after they recover and they're decent? Well, aside from me.
Oh, they were and they still are. We have this perception of a heroin user in New York City in the corner shooting themselves up. If you look at what's going on today, I think the majority of them are actually as a result of pain medication. There's a lot of good people that get hooked on heroin. They get in an auto accident, they're on Vicodin, Percocet, and then they get cut off. And they need this fill, they need this high to get them through the day. So it's not, the type of criminal we would think, who some people would say is a lowlife. It's a lot of good people that are getting hooked to heroin.
I agree.
And so that's why it's important to treat the addiction, because they are good people. They're teachers, they're firemen, they're lawyers, they're all kinds of people out there. So it's a different type of, I call it kind of a quasi-criminal.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
It does. What is the age, the general age bracket that you're seeing some coming in there now?
Well, we are seeing so much young.
Mm-hmm.
I had this conversation with my administrative assistant, Diane Barr, who's terrific. And we wonder whether we've given young people too much. Because when I
Mm-hmm.
speak to some of them, they're looking for the new high in life. They're looking for the new fun thing, the new, experience. And once you do heroin, it seems that it's hard to get out of that. Again, we're also seeing a lot of middle-aged people that are going through the time of their life where their back goes out, they're in an auto accident, where it's physically, they need the treatment for a physical issue.
Do you think that the rehabilitation program that is out at the Stark County Jail, there's an AOD program?
Right.
And what are your feelings on that? I know my feelings. I love the program.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really awesome. What are your...
I think it's an awesome program. I think it's probably more effective with the alcohol. I like the SRCCC lockdown 4 to 6 months
Okay.
because I think you need a little more time in monitoring.
Mm-hmm.
And it all matters what their background is. Is this the first time they've relapsed? If the second time, the AOD is really good for first-time offenders. But again, it's a program that we're trying to use along with the drug court. Again, I think the 1980s of lock everybody up as long as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Making arrests isn't going to cure the problem.
Right.
We have to find a way to treat it, find out why they're doing it. I always say, part of the problem is at home. Some
Mm-hmm.
parents aren't watching what they should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get everybody together, to try to tackle the addiction and the problem.
I agree. And that's one of the things that I strongly believe in. I can't do this by myself. You can't do this by yourself. It does take a community. And if you want to help, there are so many ways to help.
Sure.
And do you have any ways that just your average citizen can come in and just help? I mean, is there something that I can do or we can do?
I think the average citizen, look around. Look and see who you think is having that kind of difficulty. Their behavior pattern changes. Their weight usually changes. When you see somebody who you suspect is starting to have these issues, get to them early. Because what's going to happen with a lot of young people, once they get addicted, they need the money. Then they get a gun. Mm-hmm. Then they go rob something. And then the next thing, they find themselves in prison for the next 5 to 15 years. And I meet so many people that say, boy, I thought that they were having a problem. We need to, maybe take that next step. I try to do it as a judge. I go out and talk to the people at the SRCCC. And it's a big thing for them that a judge came and talked to them. Mm-hmm. Because they have low self-esteem. They feel everyone's against them. And now a judge came out and sat and talked to them, whether I just give them 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Now they start to feel good about themselves. And so those that are struggling, we need, as individuals, to try to get to them. Just as we would if someone was going through cancer, someone, lost a spouse, where we all try to help them get through it. It's the same thing with drugs.
And people don't look at it that way. An eating disorder is an addiction as well.
Mm-hmm.
People look at that, oh, they can't help it, poor them. Well, you know what, it's the same thing with any addiction. Do you agree?
Yes, and a lot of people get addicted not by choice. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I go back to the heroin is a different type of drug. A lot of it isn't because they went out to the market just to get that high. A lot of it is physical limitations where they can't get pain medication anymore. So they are good people, and we need to reach out to them.
Is there anything being done about the doctors that are prescribing all these opiates that are doing this?
I know there's legislation out there that is trying to put parameters on how long they can give medication. I don't know enough about that, and with Obamacare going on, as to how that will work. I know they're taking a closer look at the amounts of medication that have been going out because they have found fraud and things of that nature. But I know there's current legislation to take a closer look at that, which is also necessary.
It is necessary, but then if you put a cap on that, then where do they go? They go to the heroin.
That's the next question.
So what do we do with that?
It's a problem that we really need to re-examine. Again, we get into this issue of where are the dollars. We need more treatment, but we don't have, Stark County, we have our drug court that the Common Pleas Court operates. We have the SRCCC, we have Quest and some of the other places. But we don't have enough because, you look at it, I think in 2012, there were 420 people that died of a heroin overdose.
Mm.
2013, it went to 480.
Mhm.
So that's a huge increase. Or, I'm sorry, 680. We went from 420 to 680.
Wow.
I think it averages 2 people die a day from heroin overdose. So
That's
if we don't
insane.
get to this epidemic, it's going to get worse.
You know, I want to help. You know, that's part of the show, to get some awareness out there, and get people to help. The SRCCC.
Yeah, the SRCCC, it's, operated on state and county money. If we could get more funds to them.
That means we're going to a commercial. I have a
Okay.
question on that.
You got it.
We have to take a short break. If you have a question for Judge Forchione, please give us a call at 330-492-6881. And please give us a call, ask a question. No question is stupid. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, Addiction Voices of Hope. We'll be right back. Back to Addiction Voices of Hope. I am your host, Michelle Beyer, here on WNPQ 95.9 The Light. When we left, we were talking with Judge Frank Forchione from the Starr County Common Plea Court. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's still great to be here.
And when we left, we were talking about SRCCC.
Yeah.
I got that correct. And my question is after they're done with that program, are they just let back out into society, or do they have to go through other steps?
Sure. Craig Prysock runs it, and his staff do an amazing job. As I indicated earlier, they generally are still on probation, so they still will be drug tested and things of that nature. They help them try to get a job. We have what's called a reentry program for those that are released from prison, where we try to find them jobs back out into the community. We try to make sure they have sufficient housing, because if you just let them out that day with nothing else, they generally are going to go back with the same ding-a-lings that they were hanging around with before they got into the trouble.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing.
Do you have, we need transitional housing. What are your thoughts on transitional housing? I feel that, again, like you just said, if we just let them go, they're going to go right back to where they were before. So their recovery rate is just going to plummet. It's not going to...
Right. That's a great thing. The problem that we're dealing with is under the last budget, we got cut our state and local government funds.
What else is new?
Right, so, funding obviously is an issue. And so that's why everyone's trying to be creative to find ways to do it, and that's why the Common Pleas Court kind of created this drug court. Because when we first started, people were like, well, what do you mean drug court? And in the end, their case is going to be dismissed. And then once they realize that it's just, low-level people with possession, young people with no prior record, it's a way to help them get through the process, get them into the job market, or get them educated. Some of the people I put on probation, I'd say, I want to see your report cards. I want to see that you're going to school or doing something with your life. If you're not going to do that, then I'm not going to continue to try to help you.
Now, you are one of the few that just, in my opinion, want to help so much. I mean, I don't know all the other judges or lawyers out there, but from what I've always known about you, you are jump in, help, and do what you can. I mean, you're part of the boys club as well. Is that... I forget how that is. Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Well, I've been involved in Big Brothers Big Sisters. My other passion right now is Wishes Can Happen, where we raise money for young people with, mostly diseases that may take their lives. And I've been on that board for about 15 years, and I've kind of gotten off some of the other boards and focused on that. And it's just one of the greatest organizations, and to do this to help children. So I think as not just a person here in Starr County, but even as a public official, I love Starr County. I grew up here. I'll probably die here, but I want to give something back to it.
That's awesome. Now, how is this job, being a judge? Now, I know you from being a lawyer.
Yes, you do.
And you were my divorce lawyer, and according to me, you were the best divorce lawyer ever. Now, you asked my ex-husband, which means you did a great job. But how's being a judge and what you're seeing affecting your life, or is it not affecting your life? Are you cynical?
Well, it's not that you're cynical. You learn a lot going from a lawyer to being a judge, because it comes more personal. I mean, I never went out and spoke to people that at the SRCCC or the jail that have been hooked on heroin, and maybe I didn't understand how it happens or how it affects them. I've been touched. I've went to a couple of the calling hours of young people in their early 20s that overdosed. And you want to talk about something that impacts you. It impacts your family. You see this young lady that looks like a golden angel, and now she's passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see those kind of things, as a public figure, you can do one of two things: just keep going to work every day and go through the motions, or try to make an impact. And that's why, you know, this SRCCC has kind of been a passion of mine to get out there, try to work with them. And all the judges in Stark County Common Police Court, I think, recognize it. We have a group of 5 judges that really work together well. Judge Warren, Judge Heath, Judge Haas, and Judge Farmer. Even though she went to Central Catholic, I still think a lot of her.
You just had to put that in. Right? That's
I always put that in with her. I went to St. Thomas.
That's funny. Now, in 2010, the statistics are 65% of Americans are touched in one way or another by addiction. Now, we're in 2014. I am sure that's got to be up to 80, 90, 95%. Totally lost my train of thought. Oh, yes. How about yourself personally? Have you, a family member, someone in your family, been have a problem with addiction?
I know several of my friends that have, life has caught up with them, you know, middle age, and have got into an addiction. And we've tried to help. One family called me and they were going to do an intervention, which so far it sounds like that person is doing very well. You asked what can people do, that's what they did, and when they called me and we came up with the idea of an intervention. Those are the things that I'm seeing, that, you know, how it's personally affecting me. I'm also trying to keep a better eye on our young people. When I go to the SRCCC, a lot of young ladies, I say, how did you get into this heroin thing? My boyfriend. So maybe we need to take a look at who our young people are dating. And I have, you know, 4 nieces and nephews in the high schools now, and, you know, I keep an eye on them, who they're dating, you know, I talk to them. And it may not be a perfect measure, but I think young people need someone in their life. They kind of lost that level. They don't fear anybody, some of them. When I grew up, you know, we had the nun at the school, then the coach, and then my dad. I mean, it was the triple header. A lot of them don't have anyone in the homes, and there's nobody they're afraid of. So aunts and uncles can step into that role. I see in court, grandmothers to me are the greatest creation in the world. I mean, they really come to court, and they tell me to get on these grandkids that aren't following the law and doing what needs to be done. And they're also the first to thank you and want to tell you when they're doing well.
That's good.
Yeah, it's great to hear those success stories.
That is, and I totally believe in it takes a village to raise a child, because you cannot always be there. And maybe your daughter or whatever is over at someone's house and the mother sees something. Instead of keeping it quiet, contact that parent of that child. You know, I know that my daughter goes over other parents' house. What is she doing at that house? Are those parents as watchful as I am? My daughter has smoked pot. I can't believe it, but she has. Was she doing it at her friend's house, and where was that parent?
Right.
You know, so it's up to all of us to kind
Right. When your kids aren't coming home at night and they come in with a wad of money, there's a problem there. You know, you know, when their behavior, they may have played baseball or in the band, and all of a sudden they just quit. There's a problem there. So, you know, it's easier said than done, but a lot of times the signs are out there, and you have to pick up on it. I told a young man in front of me the other day, what my dad told me: you are what your friends are. And I believe in that. So, you know, if your friends are out robbing people, you're going to probably get caught up in that web.
I believe that. Oh, it's time for another break. If you have a phone call for Judge Forchione, please give us a call at 330-492-6881. Don't forget, if you need information, go to my website, www.addictionvoicesofhope.com. You can find rehabs and therapists galore. So please go to the website, get some help, email me, I'll give you a hand. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I am Michelle Beyer. I'm still nervous, Frank. What is...
I told you I have that effect on women. I don't know how that really...
It must be that Italian authoritative figure here. But we are back, and we are live with Judge Frank Forchione. And when we left off, we were talking about the young folks and what we can do for them. Is there anything that we can do? Are you doing anything?
Yeah, because as I'm learning, those seem to be where the big issue of this heroin is getting to. I've had several parents call me saying, what should I do? What can I do? I think my children or child is involved. One thing I have them do is bring them down to my courtroom Monday mornings. We do our criminal court at 8 a.m.
Okay.
And they watch me talk to the people. They watch me sentence people. Some people get sentenced for a long time. They've never seen anyone in chains in the orange outfit. I call it the Cleveland Browns uniform. And then I generally will talk to them as well afterwards with the parents, and we've had some success in doing that. And I'm willing to do that with about anybody who's called me.
Now, what would be your advice to get through to our kids? You know, scaring them isn't working. They're not afraid like we were when we were kids. We were afraid of anything back then,
Sure.
or everything, I should say. But nowadays, there's no such thing as scared straight.
Right.
They're oblivious because of video games and movies.
They,
What's your suggestion?
well, they got to learn that life isn't like a computer game where you get a redo. Several times they come in front and say, well, Judge, can't I get a redo? This isn't the redo court. I mean, it's not the Taco Bell court either, where they come in and want to tell me what they're going to get. I think what we have to do with them is try to get the message across in a number of ways. Number one, realize, I always say to them, why would you want to spend the next 5 to 10 years of your life in an 8 by 11 foot cell? I think, yeah, I think that if they can come in and see some of the things that go on in court, a lot of them don't read the paper. Get them to read the paper to see the ramifications. If we can get speakers into the schools, I know I've spoken at several schools. I get asked a lot, and I try to go to talk to young people. Those are the things that I'm seeing that can be effective. And every, like you said, it takes a village. Every little bit counts.
Now, I'm going to be going into schools with this show.
Sure.
So I'm looking to reach these children, because if we can prevent them from doing this, then yes, we could do away with your job. Not that I want to.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm happy for that.
But what I want to do is get those drug dealers off the street.
Sure.
The only way to do that is to cut their people.
Right.
Would you suggest having someone like you come in and talk to the children? Are they seeing you as a judge? Are they seeing you as an adult that doesn't know anything and they're not going to be like that? And I mean,
no, there's something about this judge thing that they'll listen to. Okay. Now, my 5 sisters won't, but these kids will. But no, I think that does. Also, somebody in their community that respect. Like Chris Spielman speaks about a lot of different things. Maybe not heroin, but everyone listens to him.
Right.
Todd Blackledge and Nora Canton, everyone listens to him, and well-deserved. These are great quality people who I have a lot of respect for. But also young people that maybe have been through it from that high school. That the kids see somebody that went there and come back and talk about their experience. Those things can make an impact.
Well, we need to make an impact, and I'm always smashing my head against the wall trying to figure out how. I mean, even my own kid, we're talking about pot being legalized. That's the death of us.
Sometimes maybe, and I'm guilty as anybody of looking at it legally, sometimes, like with my nephews, I'll say, okay, you're 16 years old. What would happen to get you to understand this message? What kind of speaker would need to come in and get you convinced that this isn't a good thing? Maybe we need to talk to our young people and say, why are you getting into this? What's leading you there? What can we do to get the message across at an earlier age? It's such a different world with Twitter. I don't know what that is, but it gets a lot of athletes in trouble, and Instagram and these things. I don't know how to deal with them because I'm not familiar with them, but maybe we need to sit with our young people and find out what can we do in your world to get the message across.
Okay, that's a good start, and I need to find out where to start at and get these kids going. But now, domestic violence, do you get a lot of those cases in your court?
We get a lot of domestic violence cases. By the time they come to us, it's usually the second or third or fourth offense. That's why they're felonies. And you find out they generally are alcohol or drug related a lot of times.
That was my next question. How many do you, give us a percentage, a rough percentage of how many you have?
Again, I think 80% of them are alcohol or drug related because they're repeat offenders. There's that old saying that the person you love the most can make you the maddest. By the time they get to our court, they're not a smack across the face, which I don't take that lightly. The ones that we get are the ones where there's been serious harm to the young lady. And I don't know what's going on, but in the last month, we've had 3 bad ones that the woman was pregnant. I gave someone 7 years on that. It's a problem that's out there, and it keeps increasing, but again, I think a lot of it's related to drugs and alcohol.
I agree. Just from my own experience, alcohol was always involved in it. Do they get special programs? Do they have to go through anger management and a rehab if they're involved with drugs and alcohol?
Each case is different, but generally rehab is going to be part of it. We have several programs. We have, Mel Ambrosia, as you're aware with Mr. Haggerty, Voyager with Ms. Ronimo, Quest. There's generally that. We have victim awareness programs that they have to complete. Some, it's not going to help. You just send them to prison. I've always said there's three kinds of criminals. This may get me in trouble, but I think it's the truth. Good people that do something stupid, and those you want to help. Dingalings that every couple of years seem to get into some small thing that maybe a few days at the county jail will help them. And thugs that all they want is a number, and you give them a number of years in prison.
Wow. Well, if there's one thing that you can just give advice real quick, because we do have to leave, we're done, unfortunately.
Okay.
What would you like to say? Was there anything you
Help in any way you can. Let's try to help this addiction in any small way, whether you talk, get them treatment. We got to stop this heroin epidemic. It's killing too many young people.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad you were able to come
Thank you for
today.
letting me be here. I love seeing you, and I am so proud of you.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. That's all the time we have for today. If you need any help, please go to my website, www.addictionvoicesofhope.com. I offer all answers. If you have a question, it's there. Email me. I will come out and I will personally give you a hand. Tomorrow's guest is a special guest. I'm not even going to tell you who it is. We'll be back tomorrow. This is Michelle Beyer for Addiction Voices of Hope, WNPQ 95.9 The Light. Have a great afternoon. Be blessed.